we were sharing through the beans. The great beans. Heinz means farts.
We're like, it's a ET, but we're not telling you which one is. Okay.
I just love how you talk about them like
Normally, sometimes I've videoed with the like, well, my ET, the Pleiadian, and the Pleiadian tell me I'm very special.
Oh, me.
Hello, my friends. This is my friend. Dance with
Angela.
So this is Sylvia, a Colorful Foresight, where we connect from within. We will be exploring divination by channeling our ETs, friends, the benevolent universal friends. And the topic is on the future balance of world order, East meet West.
Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun.
So what was your tag? Mine was, remember we talked about it? We did a video on UFO, Let's Learn Tarot.
Yeah.
And this was what I saw was them. And the Two of Wands is the planning. Before they come to us more and more, they're looking down on planet Earth and they have a plan. They can't just show up. So in context of the future balance of world order, East meet West, I'm feeling there's a lot of planning going on. They're having meetings. They might even have meetings with our human people in charge. But they have a lot of insight that they can offer to our political or governmental people. That's what I feel to share. But also they speak with us as well. So what are you feeling? Like what cards are you getting?
So when you say they communicate with us, I wanted to know if you mean like downloads or...
It could be download. Some people meditate.
Or dreams.
Right.
It could be past life memories or... Because...
Maybe movies. You know, they're like ways of leaving us like crumbs, sign and synchronicity. Like we've heard about a lot of authors or scientists, they just get an idea. Where the insight coming from? So that's part of it. So that's good to know that the future balance of world order, East meet West. I get that it's going to happen. And it's because of we're getting help from ET, our universal friend. And you have anything else to add to that?
About the movies, in Australia, I have a lot of young friends that follow anime. I don't know if you have K-pop. There's a lot of young people really into a lot of Eastern popular culture. Anime's huge, books, and the kids love it. It's like when we grew up, we had comics, and I was more in American culture.
Mm-hmm.
And Bollywood is pretty big too. So I think maybe some of that popular culture is really helping people get the downloads of the culture immediately. There was even a Marvel movie with an Indian actress as a superhero, so that was really exciting. So interestingly, I got a series of cards. Of course, the Two of Swords is usually conflict of a mental nature or decision-making. And unfortunately, as I continued, I got, well, fortunately and unfortunately, I got, so it goes like this, Two of Swords and Three of Swords. And the Three of Swords was upside down. Well, the third card, because I didn't like them, and I asked the to help. And then the hand, like the hand offering the gift of healing. So it's also about bridging the oceans. I'm in Australia, so our eastern neighbours are across the oceans, and we also work through the Pacific region where there's quite a bit of conflict, unspoken conflict, which is also those hurts. It's unspoken hurts. So it's how do we heal the unspoken hurts? Because there's a lot of political politeness or that masks aggression, and now some of the political connection is not very nice, and you can feel the anger and the hurt for the unhealed hurts. So if the ETs can help us download this love of each other to work with the ocean. So it's really symbolic of how do we, with Australia and Asia, because Australia has such a strong connection with the USA and also with the UK and Japan and India through the alliance that we have, how do we actually build a relationship without healing those unspoken hurts?
You started out the video with how pop culture it's going to influence, because before it used to be like always about America, and people around the world like America, and that's great. But because we're getting American or other culture are getting to know about other culture, it does make a difference. You don't see them as so different from us. You see a lot of the good qualities they have. I think that matters, especially like for the younger generation. So if you're talking about the future balanced world order, they're already being programmed about, that they offer so much and we have so much in common, yada, yada, yada. I think that's very helpful. I added some cards and I got the strength and the Six of Swords. Six of Swords is like somebody moving through smoother water. So any of the heartbreak we may have caused between the differences of East meet West is starting to heal. It's getting stronger. So it kind of validate your cards. That's what the ET telling me. Like this idea of the world getting smaller do make a difference. Well, the tower to me is like rewiring the brain, like any ideas or thoughts or programming conditioning we had.
That's, yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, it's those preconceived notions of
Mm-hmm.
how the world order should be,
Mm-hmm.
and really taking time out to look at yourself, because every time you do look at yourself and your hurts, that will help the balance. But
And it's interesting you got the Three of Swords, because that's like a heartbreak card. And this
yeah,
card is a recuperating. So it's like recuperating, healing any of the heartbreak, which goes along with the Three of Cup and Three of Sword in reverse. So they go
gotcha.
well together. So I think it's just that separation. Like we had this idea we were so different from each other. So all the pop culture, they have that good point when utilized correctly. For the East being so popular right now, and the kids are enjoying that. If that from the West. Anything else you want to add?
This is a card that I pulled, and it's very interesting because it's a 7 card. 7 represents spirit and spiritual message or spiritual growth. And Pentacles is about effort and work or investment of yourself or money or others in you. But this is really your, it was originally what I thought about when East meets West. In my training, I studied with both traditions of West and East. And in Jesus's life, he traveled to the East. It's not very well documented, but it's starting to be spoken about, that journey. And he, in his teachings, he actually used some of the Buddhist teachings. So what this 7 of Pentacles represents is how we grow spiritually from the meeting of East and West. It can be about healing those past hurts, but it's actually a spiritual growth for us as a planet. And the spiritual parts of both West and East, they're going to come together. They're already coming together. I think I mentioned before we started recording about Deepak Chopra on Oprah. In the 90s, Deepak was the first Indian, I think he's Indian born, lives in America, but he brought some of the Indian teachings of Indian spirituality and Eastern mysticism. He brought that for the first time in a big way through Oprah to the West. And he started then being integrated with Tony Robbins and some other personal growth figures to really combine the Eastern teachings and the modern personal growth movement through the USA. And that's been happening throughout our history anyway, through Buddha, through the Sufis, through Jesus traveling, and through other Eastern mystics sharing their teachings across nations. But that was a huge step forward for our collective consciousness. And this is the balance of the world order. While it involves conflict and facing our internal hurts, it's actually a spiritual growth for us as a species. We have to really see it. If we want balance, we have to see it as a gift. If we see it as conflict, it will become a conflict. So it's seeing the spiritual opportunity and the effort that's required.
I mean, they keep reminding me again to bring this card up.
Yeah.
East meet West. And they're looking at planet Earth.
Balance.
Planet Earth. And, you know, they do help us, but a lot of it's also up to us. But it's nice to know that there are universal friends that are guiding us as well. So the Nine of Swords is that hurt you spoke on, anxiety. Especially now when we have like challenges in certain Eastern country, right? That we don't like. We don't want to name any particular country. So it's causing a lot of pain, especially like people who, you know, not just in the US, but sometimes they make fun of certain groups. Very painful. Or division in general is very painful. Or worrying about one country attacking over another is very painful. The Fool. Reminds me about like when we mentioned the Tower, the new way of thinking about the relationship with World Order East meets West. Because sometimes you have people with fears about the idea of world order. So we're bringing like the positive aspect to it, where you have leaders that know how to use their powers and they use it well. I think it's just telling us the reality, like what we have caused. And we've been having relationship with them for a long time, but they had been concerned about, you know, the future of Asia and how they're going to be handling toward the
and how they're going to be a leader, because they've actually been a leader at other stages of our history. Genghis Khan and others have been leaders. Even the Emperor Ming, he was a leader of the region. So how do we do that at the global level, accept it and bring it into harmony?
The world. Funny. World order.
I love the Fool card that you brought up for the leaders, because I feel like sometimes when you have to negotiate power, if you just come to the table and just say, well, look, guys, you know, what have we got here? How are we going to play? How are we going to do this?
And that's the Fool. It's like the risk taker.
Yeah.
And we could use some of that Australian kind of, let's get on with it.
Let's get on with it.
Let's get on with it. Come on, guys. Look, you know, that kind of vibe. The Queen of Wands.
Maybe that card is very shamanistic, isn't it? She's just in the rhythm of the earth.
Right. It's creating what it wants in a positive way. So, you know, it goes back to, are we utilizing our power correctly? Going back with the world leaders, East versus West. Also, even as humanity, had nothing to do whether you're a leader or not. How are we treating each other? Because a lot of it is like, what we have a lot of, this card is very about self-imposed stuff. So, our self-imposed thinking caused a lot of the challenges. You know,
is that the Five of Swords, Sylvia?
This is the Eight of Swords. Did I say 5?
No, I just couldn't see the card.
I'm sorry, the Eight of Swords. Because if you notice, this person looked good, right? But when she looked in the mirror, it showed that even though she looked good, she had very self-imposing, limiting thoughts that keeps her back. So in other words, that she could go forward. There's nothing really holding her back. It's her mind. So a lot of the challenges we have between East versus West, it's all in the programming of the mind. That's, some world leaders, they know how to use those mind games, psychological warfare. And we have to be careful with that. And I think the ETs are helping us with that by using their uh, whatever energy, maybe downloads or things like that. Maybe like information through the movies you mentioned, different anime. They have positive messages in those anime.
Both and
Am I saying that right? Enemy.
an anemone,
Right.
anime.
Right. And
It's definitely about invoking your self power. A lot of anime themes are invoking the power of within. Some of them are a bit more kinky, but there are like a lot of helping young kids to feel their superpower, and then battling issues like people that criticize you or put you down. And
so now we're going really deep, but it's really, really interesting.
yeah, that Eight of Swords was quite deep for me, the picture of the mirror, because if the mind is having the limiting beliefs, that's going to manifest in conflict externally. Our own limiting beliefs, if we think that the global order is going to suppress me, that's usually a reflection of a sense that you have no agency, you have no power, and that you're useless basically, and why are you even here? But if you see that you feel limited, and it comes from within, that sense of the own negative thoughts you have of your own identity, then you can start to just say, that's not who I am. Who am I? And tap into that Queen of Wands power, the earth.
And then we can have a balanced world order.
Yeah.
So it's funny how, like, even though we have concern about the East, a lot of things that they're creating are actually helping us, helping the West.
Of course. Yeah.
The creativity, right?
Even in a lot of traditions, they look at the East and West to represent our left and right brains. So traditionally, the more analytical mind, the left brain's the West, whereas the right and the more holistic is the East. And that's in the Buddhist versus, say, the more Western traditions of the Christ teachings. But they meet in the middle, and there's a corpus callosum that the two left and right hemispheres cross over. So in Hindu teaching, they have the Kundalini that goes up and then it flowers out. So there's so many teachings that teach us about consciousness having two sides but coming together.
And you know what came to me? This idea of the fight we've been having in the U.S. and I think it's around the world too. A lot of places, the right and left thing. But you fight so much, you get tired after a while, and then you just like, fine, do whatever you want. And that's what I feel like during that fight. You're just thinking your right way of thinking, your left way of thinking. But after a while, you just want to work together. So sometimes it might be like the tower. It had to be like something harsh like that to like kind of give up and surrender and balance. I don't know. That's very interesting. Because I feel like watching the news, even though it's still like that, I feel like people, it's an energy thing. I feel like people getting more like this. And, probably the nature of the game, like left, right, left, right. Sometimes we're more left, sometimes more right. Sometimes we're getting along and sometimes we're not. So, I don't know.
You don't, but you do.
Let's go back to this. That's it. Sometimes there's no answer to anything. It's just an interesting topic to talk about for sure.
Yeah, very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. So please like and subscribe and please share. I have my guest today with Dance with Angela. Let me read her little brief intro. Angela Ambrosia, who is an energy healer, a movement meditation dance facilitator at Dance with Angela, and teacher on loving relationships. She lives in Sydney, Australia, and teaches online classes and private sessions to open you to your healing gift and natural joy.